This case does not stop.
Cincinnati Animal Care has 3 dogs in its custody right now in connection to that case involving the 3-year-old. At this point, they don't know those dogs' involvement in the attack. But the Hamilton County Dog Warden has this message to parents who are pet owners.
Do not leave your children unsupervised with your dog, no matter how long you've known the dog.
The CDC says children are more likely than adults to be bitten by a dog.
It can go wrong really quickly with any dog, even a dog that's been in the home since it's a puppy for 8 years. We've seen, that can go wrong pretty quickly.
Staff at Cincinnati Animal Care says dogs of all breeds bite, and kids are so at risk because they often can't read a dog's body language.
One of the biggest...
You heard that right. Now listen to what she goes on to say.
Things that can happen is that a child approaches a dog inappropriately. They're right at that face level.
This was a case of a 3-year-old who was asleep on the couch when she was attacked. Why are you dealing with a made-up scenario in your head? They're dealing with that because it's the only scenario where they could sort of paint the dog as the victim. After they've attacked, they try to paint the dog as the victim. This is the best way, the most effective way, or effective story, argument that they could give you. And I don't know why they say the youngsters can't read body language, as if they could stop the attack even if they could.
Because they often can't read a dog's body language.
One of the biggest things that can happen is that a child approaches a dog inappropriately. They're right at that face level. They're staring at the dog. The dog might take that as a challenge, or they may be afraid themselves, so they're going to protect themselves, and you end up with a bite.
Walking up to a dog inappropriately and being at eye level, you're going to be at eye level no matter how you approach the dog. So what are you talking about? And how do you approach him inappropriately? And what makes you think it would be the youngster approaching the dog? Most likely, the dog would approach them. I would be so glad when these lying old hags are gone. All of you nasty dog lovers who out here spewing lies like this. Why are you dealing with this scenario? And it's not even close to what actually happened in this case. They're supposed to be giving advice based on this case. See, they don't want to give you advice on what to do when a dog attacks a sleeping child, because they can't win that argument. There's no way to paint the dog as the victim in that scenario. You have to deal with a scenario and really put it in your mind that that's what the 3-year-old did. In this case, they're going to put in the listener's mind the 3-year-old actually violated the dog.
Or they may be afraid themselves, so they're going to protect themselves.
See, it attacked out of fear. So even if there's no way for them to project the dog as fearful or as trying to defend itself, they're going to make it work. They'll just throw the argument out there. Oh, it was just afraid and defended itself. Just pathetic.
They're staring at the dog. The dog might take that as... One of the biggest things that can happen is that a child approaches a dog inappropriately. They're right at that face level. They're staring at the dog. The dog might take that as a challenge, or they may be afraid themselves, so they're going to protect themselves, and you end up with a bite.
She encourages parents to teach their kids the WAIT acronym. W, watch the dog and see if it's with its owner and appears friendly. A, ask if you can pet the dog.
Talking about a 3-year-old here. Keep that in mind.
I, invite the dog to come to you. And T, touch, pet the dog on its side or its back.
Huh? Okay, how's this supposed to keep them safe? How's it supposed to protect them from an attack by that same dog that you're talking about. It doesn't. It opens the door for the attack. And this is y'all advice on how to avoid situations like this? You want to give people advice on how to actually bring about attacks like this? Real smart. Local 12 and all of you other media outlets. Y'all put information out that's equally as dumb.
Pet the dog on its side or its back.
Watch it to see if it appears friendly. You really think a 3-year-old is going to be able to determine that? Really?
W. Watch the dog and see if it's with its owner and appears friendly. A. Ask if you can pet the dog. I. Invite the dog to come to you.
How? How is it supposed to do that? How's a 3-year-old? How's a person of any age? I could see an adult maybe snapping his or her fingers or whatever. But are you nuts? How is this supposed to protect them? You're supposed to be giving advice on how to keep them safe and make sure attacks like this don't happen. This is a case where there was a fatality and the victim was tortured to death. And this, look at how immoral this is. And there's no outrage.
And T. Touch. Pet the dog on its side or its back. A growl may be one of the most obvious signs the dog isn't happy.
You might find a dog kind of leaning away from the child.
See? They constantly have to talk about the dog in the victim position. And y'all wonder why I hate dogs so much in dog culture. I hate dog culture just as much, if not more, than I hate dogs themselves. I gotta say I hate dog culture more because that involves human stupidity. You dog lovers, y'all's behavior is the most despicable. It's more despicable than the dogs themselves. It's how you tolerate it. The dog's a dog. And many dog culture critics have made the same argument I'm making now, which tells you it's the truth. And we're not getting it from each other. A dog is a dog. It can't help but to be a dog. A worthless, parasitic mutant. But we know better. We don't have to sit up and tolerate this. Y'all not only tolerate it, you create the conditions for it to happen. You co-sign it.
They're not comfortable with that touch. They might be trying to avert their glance so they're not looking at them. They could be licking their lips. Sometimes licking their lips is normal, they just tasted something good, but other times it's a sign of anxiety.
If you're thinking about...
Wow. And I'm starting to believe, I've always believed, that some women at a certain age who look a certain way, their only love is from a dog, if you know what I mean. That's the only type of love they experience. Because ain't no man willing to, fool around with them. So they're going to be biased towards the dog no matter what. And that's why they come out making ridiculous statements like this.
Of anxiety.
If you're thinking about adding a dog to
Look at that deformed mutant tail wag. Y'all ever compared how dogs wag their tail compared to how gracefully cats do? When they do? Dogs are erratic, which tells you about them. That's their nervous system. It's connected to their nervous system. You're literally seeing how unstable and deranged they are. Just looking at how afflicted of the motions, the wagging the tail, the constant tail wagging. It looks dumb, which tells you the dog itself is dumb.
If you're thinking about adding a dog to your family, Ward
Why is there
encourages
no coordination with the wags? It's just erratic. And that's exactly how these things behave.
Ward encourages you to ask yourself these questions.
Am I ready to take an animal into my home? Am I prepared to manage that situation in my house so that I can keep the dog comfortable as well as the children?
What kind of stupid advice is that? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say yes. Just worthless babble. Y'all really need to shut up, man. Hope y'all can join me later. I have another issue, another itch to scratch with the VCA hospital as we continue with this crusade.